Edmonton. Good afternoon. I'm Doug Morton at the Alberta Legislature. Members are assembling prior to the day's proceedings of the House. In just a few moments now, the Sergeant at Arms will call the House to order as the Speaker's procession enters the chamber. The Sergeant at Arms, Oscar Lacombe, leads the way into the House. The Speaker departs from the procession. Sergeant Lacombe retires to the rear of the long table, raises the mace, places it in its cradle. He'll take one step back, doff his hat, and we'll hear the opening prayer.
Let us pray. We, thine unworthy servants, here gathered together in thy name, do humbly beseech thee to send down thy heavenly wisdom from above, to direct and guide us in all our considerations. Amen. Introduction of visitors. Mr. Speaker,
Introduction of guests by the Honorable Jim Horseman.
Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to introduce to you and to the members of the Assembly Gediminas Vagnorius, the Prime Minister of Lithuania. Mr. Vagnorius was elected as Prime Minister in January of this year. He's making his first official visit to Canada at this time. During his week-long visit to Canada, he has been meeting with members of the Lithuanian Canadian community and government officials, both federally and provincially, to discuss democratic and economic reforms currently occurring in his homeland. Prior to his election, the Prime Minister was Vice Chairman of the Committee on the Economy. He's also an engineer by profession with a background in economics. On behalf of the Government of Alberta, I would like to welcome the Prime Minister to Alberta and to wish him and his countrymen the very best of success in achieving peaceful political reforms and economic prosperity for the benefit of all Lithuanians. Mr. Speaker, I'm also pleased to introduce to you and to the members of the Assembly Dr. Egidijus Klumbys, who's a member of the Lithuanian Parliament, who is accompanying the Prime Minister on his visit to Canada. Dr. Klumbys has been a member of Parliament since the spring of 1990 and currently serves as the Vice Chairman of the Lithuanian Foreign Affairs Committee, including responsibilities for the Republic's international activities. Prior to his election, he was the director of the Kaunas Neurosurgical Research Institute. I would now ask that the Prime Minister and Dr. Klumbys rise in your gallery, receive the recognition and warm welcome of the members of the Assembly.
Introduction of the Premier of Lithuania, one of the Eastern Bloc countries seeking democracy, and another distinguished guest from his country, introduced by the Honorable Jim Horseman.
Presenting petitions. Reading and receiving petitions. Friday, I presented a petition, and I was hoping that the clerk would read that petition into the record today.
Together with the appropriate deletion taken into effect.
That was NDP Tom Sigurdsson, Edmonton, Belmont.
Of Alberta and tradesmen who have completed an apprenticeship through the most efficient apprenticeship training system yet devised, that being the Alberta apprenticeship system, humbly pray that the Legislative Assembly in and for the province of Alberta shall direct the Honourable Minister of Career Development and Manpower to cease and desist with the policies and legislation that is being attempted through the training and certification of Alberta's skilled workforce, and rather seek to reinforce the highly successful Alberta apprenticeship system. Presenting reports by standing and special committees. Notices of motions. Introduction of bills.
Minister of Career Development and Employment.
Speaker, I request leave to introduce Bill 11, Apprenticeship and Industry Training Act. This bill has been developed after considerable public and industry consultation and research to govern the apprenticeship training and trade certification systems in Alberta and to accommodate the full range of industrial demands now and in the future. It will replace the existing Manpower Development Act passed in 1975.
Introduction of a government bill by the Honourable Norman Weiss, Fort McMurray, Minister of Career Development and Employment.
Employment has moved first reading to Bill 11, Apprenticeship and Industry Training Act. Those in favor of first reading, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Bill number 11, Apprenticeship and Industry Training Act, introduced by the Honourable Mr. Weiss, is now read a first time. Tabling returns and reports.
Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to table the 1989-90 annual reports for both the Athabasca University and the Department of Advanced Education.
Okay.
Tabling by the Honourable John Gogo Lethbridge, Minister of Advanced Education.
Yes.
Minister of Consumer and Corporate Affairs, followed by the Solicitor General.
Mr. Speaker, not more than an hour ago, I had the privilege of presenting, as the first official action in National Consumer Week, 2 certificates of appreciation to outstanding consumer advocates in the province of Alberta. I now have the pleasure of introducing those individuals and others with them to you and to members of the Assembly. Betty Hunter has been a long-standing consumer advocate, president of the Consumers Association of Alberta, very involved in environmental issues, and has worked for more than 30 years with the association. And Ruth Wood has worked on many of our committees, has been president through parts of the 70s and parts of the 80s of the Alberta Association and of the local association of Consumer Association of Canada. Both of these people have given outstanding dedication, many hours and much commitment to the people of the province of Alberta. And I would like them to stand, they're in your gallery, along with the current president of the Consumers Association of Alberta, Lynn Arling, Sally Hall, who's chairman of the Consumers Education Task Force and a previous national president and a president of other Consumer Association activities, and Rick Salkowski and Gord Roscoe from our department. Would they all please stand from the Speaker's gallery? Could we particularly thank Betty Hunter and Ruth Wood for their outstanding commitment.
Introduction of special guests and officials of the Consumers Association.
Solicitor General, followed by the Minister of Agriculture.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a particular pleasure for me today to introduce to you and through you 6 outstanding young men from the city of St. Albert. On March the 24th, these young men, all members of 533 Sabre Squadron Royal Canadian Air Cadets St. Albert, were holidaying in Waterton National Park. And they were mountaineering, and while camping, they noticed a truck that, a vehicle, half-ton, which missed the turn and went over an embankment, plunging 300 feet down into the valley. The 6 young men took immediate action, went down the bank, attended upon the injured. One had passed away, died at that time, and 2 were very seriously injured. They got extra help from the town site of Waterton, and both men were taken out. One unfortunately died at a later date. One survives. These cadets that are with us today met in my office and received some special recognition. I would ask, Mr. Speaker, that they stand as I introduce them to you and through you to the House. Warrant Officer, 2nd Class Doug Craig, Sergeant Eric Fleming, Sergeant Ian Glass, Sergeant Travis Schneider, and Corporal Selwyn Sanjeevi, and Corporal Sean Heikert. Ladies and gentlemen, these young men are here to...
Introduction by Solicitor General Dick Fowler of some very distinguished air cadets from one of the top air cadet squadrons in Alberta, that being from St. Albert.
Minister of Agriculture.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Honourable Member for Drumheller, it gives me pleasure today to introduce to you and through you to the Assembly the former member of the Legislative Assembly for Drumheller, Mr. Lewis Mitchell Clark, who's seated in your gallery, served that riding from 1979 to 1986. He's back to check to see how we're doing things. I would ask you to welcome Mickey Clark.
Introduction of a guest by the Honorable Ernest Isley.
Followed by Lacombe.
Mr. Speaker, it's a pleasure today for me to introduce to you and through you to the Assembly a group of young and energetic grade 10 social studies students who I know are studying politics from the H.A. Coster School at Smoky Lake. They're accompanied by teachers Mr. Keith Dorn, brother of MP Murray Dorn, and also Mr. Mike McNamara. They're seated in the members and public gallery, and I'd ask that they rise and receive warm welcome in this assembly.
An introduction by Steve Zaruski, member for Redwater.
Member for Lacombe.
Mr. Speaker, it's a pleasure today to introduce to you and through you to members of the legislature 38 members of the 50-plus group that originally started out from the town of Tees, but has now expanded into the eastern half of the Lacombe constituency. They're accompanied today by their group leaders, Ruby Predinger and Mert Nicholson. They're seated in the members' gallery, and I'd ask them now to rise and receive the traditional warm welcome of the legislature.
Introduction of a group from Central Alberta by Conservative Ron Moore, the representative of Lacombe.
It's my pleasure today to introduce, on behalf of my colleague from Edmonton Centre, two groups of high school students from St. Joseph's High School. There are 16 students in each group, and they are accompanied by their teachers, Ms. Bazarab and Mrs. Jan Dunnigan. And I would ask, they're seated in the public gallery, and I would ask that they stand and receive the warm welcome from the Assembly.
Introduction by New Democrat Christy Melsness, MLA for Edmonton Calder.
Ministerial statements.
Minister of Consumer and Corporate Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I indicated earlier, this is the start of National Consumer Week across Canada. The theme is Team Up for a Stronger Marketplace. The success of this year's National Consumer Week depends on consumers, business, and government working together in the interests of consumers today. Alberta is facing challenges. The rapidly changing consumer marketplace has resulted in this government's initiative to encourage the use of plain language in contracts and forms. We are also making significant progress in our partnership programs. New initiatives are proposed in the automotive, funeral, real estate, financial consumer, securities, and landlord and tenant areas. This week, I encourage all Alberta consumers to think about how we can raise business standards, educate ourselves to be better consumers, and to work together to resolve disputes in the marketplace. We should all be working towards a fair and honest marketplace. Let National Consumer Week be the kickoff for an even stronger partnership between consumers, business, and government.
Leader of the Opposition.
Well, Mr. Speaker, this is one of the ministerial statements that's hard to disagree with, Mr. Speaker. Obviously, the success of this year's National Consumer Week depends on consumers, business, and government working together in the interests of consumers today. In an ideal world, we wouldn't even have to state that, Mr. Speaker. And as the Minister is well aware, we've certainly agreed with his initiative dealing with plain language in contracts and forms. Mr. Speaker, the Minister goes on to talk about new initiatives that are proposed in automotive, funeral, real estate, financial, consumer, and Lord knows, Mr. Speaker, the millions of dollars we lost, but we certainly need better laws there. And securities in landlord and tenant areas, Mr. Speaker, if I may, go to landlord and tenant areas, because it's one of the most important areas that we deal with in the province, Mr. Speaker, and I suggest to the Minister we've been waiting for a fairly long period of time. We've had hearings across the province, and we're told that this is imminent and coming, and we're still waiting for a new act. I would say to the Minister that there's a crying need to beef up, at least as part of it, and give tenants some rights in this province. And I hope that we are going to see that in this session, because there's going to be a lot of disappointed people if we don't. Maybe more disappointed after they see the bill, but at least we should be seeing the bill. So I would encourage the minister to move in all of these areas, but especially in that area, and I hope we do see it in this session.
Bill introduced by the Honorable Dennis Anderson, a consumer's bill, and responded to by Leader of the Opposition, Ray Martin.
Mr. Speaker, to the Minister of Economic Development and Trade. Mr. Speaker, over the last 5 years, Albertans have seen government ad hoc, and I stress ad hoc loan guarantees, bailout after bailout to friends of this government, and frankly, they've seen it blow up in their faces time and time again. Right. But Mr. Speaker, because of this government's secrecy, what Albertans have perhaps not been aware of is a massive amount of money awarded under the Export Loan Guarantee Program. In 1989, Mr. Speaker, that was over $140 million, Mr. Speaker. This is a program which uses taxpayers' money, though this government refuses to let them know who is getting it. Right. Mr. Speaker, we will do the government's job. I'd like to file with the legislature a copy of this $140 million and the companies that got it.
Thank you, Honourable Member. You know where filings take place, sorry. And that's fine, but now let's have the question.
Mr. Speaker, I'm trying to get to the question. It's an important matter that people want to know about, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister. Will the Minister now finally agree that Albertans have every right to know who they are giving money to, and agree from this day forward to publish this program's recipients in the public account?
Hear, hear.
First question from Opposition Leader Ray Martin.
Speaker, the honourable member has raised the issue of our export loan guarantee program and the backstopping that we have provided for those companies that export outside of the boundaries of our province. It's interesting to note that we backstop 85% of that loan guarantee, and we do so on the basis of the financial data that the financial institutions themselves gather, because there is an exposure on their part of some 15%. We involve ourselves because we acknowledge the exportation of goods create jobs within this province. It's interesting to note, too, and I could quote Hansard, whereby the honourable member for Kingsway indicated that he was supportive of the export loan guarantee program. Mr. Speaker, not only that, but it's important to note, too, that, and I only ask the Honourable Leader of the Opposition to be somewhat responsible, because he has letters in his own file, and I wish he would table them also, whereby individuals have written to him as it relates to the exposure that he has put their companies through, whereby it has proved harmful to those individual companies because it creates a psychological impact. And the only reason I wish the honourable member would allow me the courtesy of answering. I don't interrupt the honourable Leader of the Opposition. I wish he wouldn't interrupt me. I only ask the courtesy of that. In addition to that, Mr. Speaker, we recognize we've got an obligation to create a strong economy, an obligation to develop the exportation of goods that are produced within this province, and we're going to continue with that obligation.
Thank you. In response to Mr. Jasper Place, it is not speech period, but he had exactly the same amount of time as your leader did. Let's have the supplementary.
Nonsense, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker. The minister's answer is nonsense, Mr. Speaker.
That's right. Secretive program,
the point is, we're not talking about the program, and there may be some good programs in there. Right. What we're talking about is secrecy with taxpayers' money, Mr. Speaker.
That's right.
What the minister must realize is that there's an accountability to deal openly with taxpayers' money, not hide behind private, closed-door meetings, Mr. Speaker. And I again want to ask the minister this. He sort of got into the idea of business accountability and how they'd be at disadvantage. My question is this, Mr. Speaker. Given that what we are asking for here today is to publish the companies that receive money under this program in the public accounts, and I remind the minister these come out 1 year after the year in which the loan guarantees are made. Will the minister explain how this jeopardizes the business confidentiality?
Hear, hear.
Mr. Speaker, let's take it one step further. Is the honourable member also suggesting that we, and the reason I raise this is because we're in the process of creating jobs. I recognize the honourable member doesn't want to create jobs. He wants us to continue to hand out welfare checks, which we totally disagree with. Is he also suggesting that we should indicate in a public way those who are receiving welfare checks? Is he also suggesting that we should indicate the names of those who receive student loans? We've got an obligation whereby under set programs there are set procedures in which to follow, whereby there is a public disclosure of which we're not about to alter because we believe it is the right procedure. We've also got obligations to those individuals who are receiving support from their government, whether it be welfare, student loans, or accessing through their financial institutions the Export Loan Guarantee Program.
Replying to the questions, the Honourable Peter Elzinga.
Procedures. They come cap in hand, behind closed doors, come to the minister, and if he likes them, he hands out money, Mr. Speaker. That's what the reality is. And I remind the minister about General Composites. He knew this company was in trouble. He still handed out the money, Mr. Speaker. And my question is, it's being used as a slush fund, Mr. Speaker. My question is this. Isn't it true that the only reason that the government wants this program administered in secret is because it is treated like a slush fund and they really don't want the public to know about it, Mr. Speaker?
No mistake.
No, Mr. Speaker, even though the stupidity with which the answer was, or the question was put, I'm going to give him the courtesy of an answer.
That's it.
The truth of it is there is a process in which one has to follow as it relates to a loan guarantee under our Export Loan Guarantee Program. The honourable member is aware of it himself. He indicated it in his previous question that he put to me that there was a process. Now he's swallowing himself and is indicating there isn't. There is a set procedure. I indicated to him it first has to go through the financial institutions whereby they are involved up to 15% themselves. We only backstop at 85%. The reason being is the financial institutions themselves are involved. Plus, there is a thorough scrutiny as it relates to our own department and the Treasury Department within our government, whereby if there is not viability and it's done on the basis of sales already completed for the exportation of products from the province of Alberta. Mr. Speaker, to say that there isn't a process in place is totally inaccurate, and no, the honourable member is totally out to lunch again.
If that's the case, why not put it in public accounts? What are you hiding from me, Mr. Speaker? That's the question.
Hear, hear.
Well, my second question is to the Minister of Health, Mr. Speaker. Another example of this government's operating in secrecy behind closed doors is the cuts it has made to the seniors programs. Mr. Speaker, the Premier claims that seniors want to pay more, Mr. Speaker. Well, the seniors that were out in the steps of the legislature today didn't feel that way, and I don't think many seniors have called us that, Mr. Speaker. Now, they and many other seniors in this province are furious with the fact, Mr. Speaker, that they had absolutely no input into the decisions made by this government, decisions that they cannot afford and were made behind closed doors. My question to the Minister of Health, why is it that this government continues to bluff about what seniors want when in fact is not taking the opportunity to even consult with them, Mr. Speaker?
Second main question from the opposition to the Honourable Nancy Vitkowski.
Look through the process that we went through as a government to come up with newly revised and updated programs in both the areas of home care and our very expensive but very worthwhile Alberta Aids to Daily Living program. We looked at the issues of providing medical services and treatment services and home care services through a new perspective, and that new perspective was the Premier's Council on the Status of the Disabled. And that gave us a whole new way of looking at our programs. We were able to update our programs and provide protection for the low-income Albertan regardless of age. And we were able to do that by updating, making far more benefits of the program that were not able to be covered in the past. That is a new perspective. I would argue it's a very progressive and a 90s perspective on programs, all the while protecting the low-income Albertan senior and all other Albertans. It's in fact, a very important way, and the consultation process to get to that point was a very important one.
All seniors groups, every one of them are saying they were not consulted.
Right.
If she wants to call that progressive, she can, Mr. Speaker. But it was not only the seniors, Mr. Speaker, but the members who have to implement the charges were not consulted either. Dentists, optimists, pharmacists, Mr. Speaker, all of them said that they weren't consulted. And because of this, Mr. Speaker, seniors in these groups weren't consulted. Will the minister admit that the cutbacks in programs now are ill-advised and agree to put on hold any changes until she has consulted directly with those affected service providers as well as seniors, Mr. Speaker.
Well, Mr. Speaker, let's take one of them. Let's take, for example, the pharmacists. Pharmacists are part of an ongoing review of our Blue Cross program in this province. And frankly, in the area of pharmacy, there's some things we need to do in Alberta in order that we can get broader generic uses of drugs than we do. This is something that the opposition have been screaming about in the last several years while I've been health minister in this legislature. So now we have a process in place by which we can review things like a defined drug benefit list, so that we can review things about interchangeable drug programs, along with consultation with the pharmacists. It's in order to make our programs more contemporary and for the very important goal of assuring that we can deliver our health programs within a defined budget and make them afford to be sustainable. It's a very important issue. We happen to believe in this health system in this province, and ensuring its sustainability is something we take very seriously as a government.
Supplementary, final.
The whole province is wrong with this government, Mr. Speaker. The pharmacists are complaining about the administration of this program because they weren't consulted. The minister is well aware of that. But I want to direct my last question to the Deputy Premier, Mr. Speaker. This decision was made without consultation, and, Mr. Speaker, further evidence of this mindset is the Premier's proposed Seniors Advisory Council, Bill 1, which makes absolutely no provision, Mr. Speaker, to make sure that seniors will even be on the council. Mr. Speaker, my question to the Deputy Premier is a simple one. Will the Deputy Premier ensure that the bill is amended so that seniors can be assured that they will occupy the majority of seats on the council and thus be able to present their concerns directly to the government so we don't run into this mess again, Mr. Speaker?
Good idea.
Mr. Speaker, I expect that bill will be up in committee in the Assembly very shortly.
Member for Edmonton Glengarry on behalf of the Liberal Party.
Is it Sir, I'd like to designate that to the member from...
Thank you, Honourable Member. Apologies. Too many things up here. Westlock Sturgeon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question today is to the Acting Minister of Highways. The Wildlife Park and Aunt Helen Zoo here, Mr. Speaker, just northeast of Edmonton, is in trouble, caught between a rather opinionated Minister of Parks and Recreation who doesn't like giraffes, and an MD Council who wants to build a road right through the middle of the park as well as the adjoining lake. My engineering estimates have shown that the road through the lake could cost anywhere from $800,000 to $1 million more than the one around the lake. Now, Mr. Speaker, my question to the Minister is, since the Minister of Environment recently recommended in a letter that the road go around the lake, not through it, and since a major part of this road cost is paid by the provincial government, is the Minister going to go with the way the Council wants to, put a road through the middle of the lake, or insist that the cheaper, more environmentally sound road around the lake is the one that goes?
First question from the opposition Liberal Party, from Nick Taylor.
Mr. Speaker, I haven't had an opportunity to discuss this matter with the MD of Sturgeon at all with respect to this matter, but should there be some information that the MD would like to provide to the government with respect to this in April of 1991, I'd be very happy to take a look at it.
Responding on behalf of the Honourable Al Adair, who is in hospital, Ken Kowalski.
Not referring to presence in the House, is probably one of the most widely known controversies in his area. This next question then is to the Minister of Environment. Since the Minister of Environment only recommended that the road go around the lake, not through it, does this mean that the Minister does not have the authority to stop a road through the middle of the lake, or he hasn't got the guts to rule against it? Which?
Mr. Speaker, as usual, we will do what is prudent and what is right. And in this particular case, the proponents, that is the county, has been asked to address certain deficiencies. If those deficiencies are not addressed to the satisfaction of the department, I guess we can invoke regulations under either the Clean Water Act or the Water Resources Act or any other act that might be applicable to make sure that whatever is done in an environmentally safe manner.
Final.
The final question is, in view of the fact that there has been an independent study by the university, there has been a study of environment hired for by the MD Council, there has been a study done by the Minister of Environment. Wouldn't he not say that all he's doing is knuckling under the pro-development lobby that wants to put a road from hazardous waste and Redwater straight through the Swan Hills, and he hasn't got the guts to stop it?
This minister, Mr. Speaker, has the guts to do whatever is right and responsible. And to say that we're bowing to the pressures of a pro-development group, Mr. Speaker, is utter and absolute nonsense, and the honourable member knows it. Very simply, our department acts in a regulatory role, and when deficiencies in an environmental impact assessment are identified, we ask the proponents to rectify and address those deficiencies, and if they're addressed to the satisfaction of the department, the Director of Standards and Approval, then a permit will be issued. If they aren't addressed, then a permit will not be issued. It's as simple as that.
Okay.
A response from the Honourable Ralph Klein.
3 questions. You really don't need to carry it on. And I'm sure that while all of us here have the guts in one form or another, that we'll follow the tradition. We find better words to use. It's been ruled out of order since '83. Thank you. Bow Valley.
My question is to the Minister of Agriculture. And Alberta farmers are today a bit concerned about what's happening with the programs for farmers that is shared by Alberta Agriculture. In the cabinet shuffle, we now have a new Minister of Agriculture. Could I ask the Minister if he has been in contact with the now new Minister of Agriculture to see what his opinion of the programs are?
Question from Conservative Thomas Musgrove, Bow Valley.
Mr. Speaker, I can inform the House that I talked last evening with the Honourable Mr. McKnight, the new Minister of Agriculture Canada, on a very preliminary basis, congratulated him on his appointment, identified some of the ongoing joint programs that we're working on, and I will be following that up once he is more fully briefed later on this week.
Supplementary, Bow Valley.
Farmers are particularly interested in what is happening with the new gross revenue insurance program, which is in the process, and whether or not this will be carried out now with Agriculture Canada.
For that one, Mr. Speaker, to the Associate Minister of Agriculture.
The Honourable Ernest Isley, referring the question to Shirley McClellan.
Option and the crop yield option are in place, and the contracts are available for farmers, and that program will continue, as will the review of the program over the interim year, and we look forward to working with our new colleague in Ag Canada and in the further development for the use and we hope for the stability of the grains and oilseed sector in Alberta. I would just like to add, Mr. Speaker, that the deadline for registration for that program has been extended to May 15th, and I thank you for your indulgence in letting me put that information out for our producers.
Great Forest Lawn, followed by Calgary Buffalo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On a number of occasions, Mr. Speaker, government ministers have referred to the fact that a member of the official opposition chairs the Public Accounts Committee. As chair of that committee, there's nothing more frustrating than having the government refuse to provide information to the committee which is necessary to account for the expenditure of taxpayers' money. Mr. Speaker, my question is to the Minister of Economic Development and Trade. Given that the most recent Auditor General's report criticizes this government for its failure to properly account for government guarantees and indemnities, and given that guarantees of up to $5 million per company can be granted under the Export Loan Guarantee Program, what possible justification can there be for denying the Public Accounts Committee information about the companies which receive guarantees under the export program?
Question from New Democrat Barry Pashek, Calgary Forest Lawn.
The truth is just to the contrary of what the honourable member suggested. I'm more than happy to appear before the Public Accounts Committee, of which I have in the past, to answer any questions that they'd like to put to me.
That response from the Honourable Peter L. Zinga.
information is not provided, and we're just asking for a justification why that information is not provided, Mr. Speaker. Now, Mr. Speaker, a number of these companies that receive guarantees under the export loan programs have also received other types of government financial assistance, and that some of this assistance obviously goes to bailing out companies that governments have backed. Will the minister now provide the real criteria on which companies are approved for export loan guarantees?
Mr. Speaker, the real criteria has on a consistent basis been outlined to honorable members. If honorable members don't want to listen to what the real criteria is, I don't know how more forceful we can present it to them. But I'm more than happy to reinforce with them that the procedure is as such that we involve ourselves with the lending institution. It's done on the basis of they having contracts for sale to areas outside of the province, whereby we only backstop 85%, the other 15% is backstopped itself by the financial institutions. There's a thorough review by both the Treasury Department and our department. There's a lengthy process that they have to go through of checks and balances to make sure that there is validity in us issuing that support so that we can have exportation of Alberta goods creating jobs in the province of Alberta for the benefit of all of our citizens.
Calgary, Buffalo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the Minister of Energy, recently a Calgary energy analyst suggested that there may be a disaster, a financial disaster in the making as a result of continuing downward pressure on natural gas prices caused by oversupply due to expansion of the Nova pipeline system. Nova is one of only 2 pipelines in all of North America which is not regulated. Now, the matter has to be addressed, Mr. Speaker, since low Alberta spot prices can drive down the prices that we're going to be renegotiating in Ontario and ultimately in California at great cost to producers and to provincial royalty revenue. So I'm wondering whether the minister can answer, Mr. Speaker, why, since it's now 14 years since there's been any public hearings in Alberta with respect to natural gas issues, why the minister has not called a public hearing on the pros and cons of regulating Nova and other important natural gas issues.
Question from Liberal Sheldon Schumer, Calgary Buffalo, to Rick Orman.
Speaker, the member for Calgary Buffalo asks an important question and a contemporary one. Many of the producers today are wondering whether or not Nova should be regulated, given the fact that they are planning a $3 billion expansion over the next 5 to 7 years. Many would say, Mr. Speaker, that by adding that capacity and bringing on new supply exacerbates the low price regimes we have right now. Others would say, Mr. Speaker, that producers should exercise some discipline in bringing on new supplies in a time of oversupply. Traditionally, the producers have made that decision. The question as to whether or not there should be full evidentiary hearings is one under consideration at the current time.
Supplementary.
Mr. Speaker, since the industry is going to be paying $800 million in 1991 in tariffs to move its gas in the province, I'm wondering whether the minister thinks it's proper that Nova does not have to divulge any of its specific rate information to these producers, and will he do something to rectify that, public hearings or no public hearings?
Mr. Speaker, from time to time and on a regular basis, Nova meets with the producers under the auspices of the Canadian Petroleum Association, IPAC, and Independent Petroleum Association and the Small Explorers. At those meetings, Nova discusses matters that go into the rate base and provide information as to what those costs are. The honourable member will, as we all have noticed, that Nova is going to be carving out the pipeline side from their operations, and many believe that will bring greater integrity to the rate base. It will be specifically and solely dedicated to transportation costs. Mr. Speaker, as I've indicated, there is active consideration being given to have a whether or not hearings, public hearings are necessary. Some believe they are, some believe they are not. It is a traditional way of doing things, but I don't reject the idea, Mr. Speaker. Personally, I believe that it may be a good idea for the ERCB to sit down with Nova and some of the gas producers and have a good discussion on this matter. In any case,
I will look to the advice from the industry and the ERCB before making any decisions in this connection.
Alberta Energy Minister, the Honourable Rick Orman.
Last November, the Minister of Environment toured the Peace River country and met with many constituents who expressed the difficulties that they are having in trying to establish a regional recycling program in a rural, depopulated area. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. At that time, the constituents in the Peace River country expressed concern about the difficulties in trying to establish a recycling program or project in a rural, depopulated area. The minister assured the people that he would take this back, spend some time with his staff, and see if it would be possible to establish such a program. Could the minister share with the constituents and share with the House whether indeed he has discussed this with his staff and advised the constituents in the Peace River country whether indeed such a program is being formulated and put together?
Question from Conservative Walter Paskowski, Smoky River.
This is a timely question, notwithstanding the fact that estimates are today, because I happened to be up there on Friday, and I think it's very timely. What would the opposition have me do, Mr. Speaker? Answer the question 3 or 4 months from now? Of course it's timely, because I was up there talking to the honourable member's constituents, and we talked about meaningful grassroots kinds of things where people want to get involved in recycling, and we as a government want to help them accommodate meaningful and worthwhile recycling programs, Mr. Speaker, and basically...
Oh, thank you very much. I think there's...
Response from the Honourable Ralph Klein.
Let's hear the supplementary briefly.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very much. If this persists, question period will be adjourned right here now. No, order.
Mr. Speaker, Dr. Carter having a bit of a problem keeping the House in order.
A short supplementary, and it better not have any financial implications. The first was a representation. Let's hear this.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Obviously, it's of much greater concern to the constituents of the Peace River country than it is to our neighbors to the left. Mr. Speaker, does the minister have any timelines as to when and how he will be implementing this program?
Mr. Speaker, basically we've asked that the various municipal jurisdictions involved form a steering committee and work with the department to coordinate a regional approach to recycling, where the smaller communities that really can't accommodate recycling programs on their own would feed into a regional system where the recyclables could be consolidated and shipped on a cost-benefit basis to the larger centers like Calgary and Edmonton. And, Mr. Speaker, this is all part of the new program called Action on Waste.
Thank you. Thank you.
If the chaos continues, we could see a short session this afternoon. New Democrat Stan Woloshyn, Stony Plain stands, but is nodded to sit down again by Dr. Carter, the Speaker.
Stony Plain.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, Hansard will show that last Monday I asked the Minister of Health to allocate $175,000 in additional funding. I quote, "an additional funding to the West Central Health Unit so that the residents of the municipal district of Brazeau, just east of the North Saskatchewan River, would not be denied basic health services." I did not take the position this minister is taking, which is that money should be taken away from the Leduc Strathcona Health Unit. My question is this: how can the minister maintain this position of pitting one health unit against another, resulting in the denial of basic health services to Albertans?
Question from Stan Woloshyn to Nancy Witkowski.
All right. Supplementary. All right.
Is that a question, Mr. Speaker?
The minister, rather than misstating my words, doesn't choose to answer, and that's fine. Mr. Speaker, Albertans know that our health units are underfunded. And to expect the Leduc Strathcona to give up part of its funding is ridiculous and extremely unfair. As the minister has a total budget of over $3 billion, how is it that she will permit 2,200 residents of Brazeau to go without basic health care services because she is unwilling to provide an extra 22 cents per day per resident? Compare this with the amount of investments the government is using or losing, the bad money thrown away, Minister.
Well, I'm glad to know, Mr. Speaker, that the people of Alberta are listening to the questions, and let's look at the issue. We have 2,000 people who have been accessing health services in a particular health unit and find it more convenient to do so. We now have those exact same people at the request of a boundary adjustment to be served by another one. My simple question is, why should it only be a matter of adding new dollars? Throughout the whole health system, with the backing of the Rainbow Report, we've got the issue of reallocation right before us as a very, very strong recommendation. Contrary to what the honourable member says, it's $4 billion that are in our health system. And the Rainbow Report is saying that we've had all these resources. It's a matter of how we spend our dollars, not a matter of adding more to it constantly. And if you want to look at community health this year in this budget, it's increasing by 20%. Right. I happen to think that that's a very reasonable, in fact, a very generous support for public health in this province. And so if those 2,000 people are going to be served elsewhere, I think they should be able to find the resources somewhere from someone who's not serving them. A simple principle of reallocation that we believe in this health system.
Health Minister Nancy Witkowski.
Edmonton Meadowlark, followed by Banff Cochrane, and then Edmonton Millwoods.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in theory, the Facility Insurance Pool Program allows auto insurance companies to share the high risk of insuring bad drivers. In practice, however, there are no uniform criteria to determine who will be forced into the Facilities Insurance Pool Program and who will therefore pay as much as 2 to 3 times a normal auto insurance premium. My question is to the Minister of Consumer and Corporate Affairs. What concrete steps is the minister taking to, as he would say, team up for a stronger marketplace, a marketplace in which there would be uniform selection criteria designed to prevent arbitrary and inconsistent industry decisions about who will be put into an expensive, high-cost facilities insurance program and who?
Thank you.
Question from Liberal Grant Mitchell, Edmonton Meadowlark.
Speaker, with respect to the honourable member's question, we share any concerns that are there with regards to the number of people being put in the facility. In other words, those declared a risk. Where that's appropriate, it is indeed something that must be done to carry out the automobile industry's viability. Where it's not appropriate, I think insurers themselves would want to relook at that circumstance. In answer to his question, what are we doing? I have met with the industry individuals on a national basis in Toronto not long ago, discussed with them the criteria and what is happening in automobile insurance in the province. We have met with the Automobile Insurance Bureau here in Alberta and have had a joint meeting between parties involved not long ago to discuss that particular issue and others. In the long term, Mr. Speaker, there are other solutions which we need to take a look at, those which the member may well know about or that I'd be glad to inform him further on.
Response from the Honourable Dennis Anderson.
Meetings, what we need is action. While we're awaiting action, Mr. Speaker, I wonder whether the Minister of Consumer and Corporate Affairs can tell us what steps is he going to take to ensure that auto insurance consumers currently in the facilities program have been put there fairly and not by some inconsistent and arbitrary industry decision which treats some consumers one way and other consumers another way.
Mr. Speaker, I'm not sure if the honourable member is advocating government-run, government-owned insurance or not. I haven't been sure of the position of that part of the House in that regard. I do believe that those who are insured in Alberta must be dealt with fairly. We are asking the Automobile Insurance Board to assess our industry overall and what will assist in ensuring that that takes place in the future. Obviously, any company who wants to maintain a viable clientele will look very carefully at who they insure. And I believe that as our industry has viability in the province, as it does away with that debt that's developed or those losses that have developed over the past while, that people will see the numbers in facility move down. That has been traditionally the case in the past. We are looking forward to the automobile insurance report and to the options that it suggests. We will be reassessing the overall approach together with the industry when that happens.
Cochran. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my questions are for the Minister of Forestry, Lands and Wildlife. Most members of the Assembly are aware of recent increases to hunting license fees for both resident and non-resident hunters in the province of Alberta. My question, Mr. Speaker, is does the Minister intend to discourage hunting in the province of Alberta as a result of these increases?
Question from Tory Brian Evans.
Mr. Speaker, it appears that there may be as much as $3 million a year generated from these increased fees for hunters in the province of Alberta. I wonder if the Minister could advise what uses these extra monies will be put to.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the projected revenue is about $3.2 million for this coming year, and about half of that dollar number will go into a trust account. That trust account will be used to do such things as a wildlife enhancement program looking at endangered species and trying to enhance habitat for those endangered species. Secondly, there will be a plan, because of the hunter's representation, to have a new hunter identification number, which will make it much easier for all of those recreational hunters that are in a draw. The balance of the money, Mr. Speaker, about half of that amount went into the provincial treasury, and I'm pleased with this year's budget because out of this year's budget I was allocated dollars for the North American Waterfowl Management Plan, so wildlife, I think, generally, all in all, comes out a winner.
Forestry Minister, the Honourable Leroy Fjordbotn.
Mr. Speaker, my questions are to the Minister responsible for the Workers' Compensation Board. Recently, the Alberta Restaurant Food Services Association held a meeting with MLAs to discuss concerns in their industry. It is unfortunate that the Minister responsible for the WCB chose not to attend that meeting because one of their main concerns was that WCB rates have shot up 43% in the last 3 years, way above inflation, and in part due to the fact that they're now lumped in with high accident operators like ski operations. So I'd like to ask the Minister now, on behalf of the thousands of restaurant operators in the province, will he give a commitment today to accept their recommendation and review the WCB rates for restaurants to ensure that they're not unfairly penalized by other employers who are not related to the restaurant trade?
Question from New Democrat Jerry Gibo, Edmonton Millwoods.
Mr. Speaker, it wasn't that I chose not to be there. I had other engagements and I couldn't be there. And for the honourable member to insinuate otherwise is wrong. I would like to see the request from the Restaurant Association. I have not received one to my knowledge, and should they come forward with one, should they come forward with a request to take a look at their compensation rates, I would do so. But he must remember, and maybe we all should, that accidents or your assessments are accident-driven. And so if your assessment goes up, you should have a look at to see why it is. And as I've said, assessments are accident-driven. And when I receive the request from the restaurant owners, I'd be glad to sit down with them and talk about it.
Minister responsible for the Workmen's Compensation Board, the Honourable Peter Trinchy.
Given that the association also recommended that the high cost of administering the WCB ought to come under review by the minister, I wonder if he could give a commitment today that the squandering of employers' premiums on expensive knickknacks like antique bronze desk ornaments for executives will not be tolerated in the future.
Mr. Speaker, I've got the news release put out by the New Democrat Party, the member himself, and it's just so full of nonsense. He goes on to make a number of insinuations, such as to say that the reason the Workers' Compensation Board can't pay out their injured workers is because of the government budget, which has no connection whatsoever. And it's the same type of questions he's raising now.
Mr. Speaker, the government's policies towards the treatment of substance abusers are confusing, to say the least. On the one hand, the government thinks the fact that it costs $4 million a year for Albertans to get inpatient care at a U.S. hospital is no reason to establish a hospital program here. And then we have the government spending another $6 million this year to set up this mysterious new drug foundation. But at the same time, the cost of the highly successful ADAC counseling program, known as Alpha Substance Services, is too expensive. Mr. Speaker, if you're looking for logic here, you're out of luck. My questions are to the Minister of Health. Will the Minister please explain what measures were used to determine that the only internationally accredited program for rehabilitating drug and alcohol abusers cost too much? On what basis was that decision made?
Question from Liberal Betty Hughes.
Mr. Speaker, I responded to the questions addressed by the leader of the Liberal Party on Thursday last in the legislature, and those answers stand. But for a response to the specific program, I would refer to the chairman of ADAC.
Mr. Speaker, when the ADAC board discussed the issues of funding the many programs that we have and examining where the best use of the resources were to avail themselves for this fiscal year, we made a conscious decision, and although sometimes the decisions are very difficult to make, we made it a conscious decision based on the aspect of cost effectiveness of the program and the number of facilities that we have available here in the city of Calgary and in the province for these people that need to be served. We felt that they were well served by the facilities we have in place and the additional work that is being done to encompass the overall addiction service within the province.
Supplementary.
Chairman of the ADAC, Stan Nelson.
About what measures were used to make such cuts. Mr. Speaker, to the Minister or to the chairman of ADAC, whoever wants to answer, how does the government then magically know that the Alpha program costs too much, yet the program sending Albertans for treatment in the U.S. presumably doesn't cost too much? How do we decide those things?
Well, Mr. Speaker, there's two separate issues here, completely non-aligned to each other, and based on the best information and the best available resources to us, we made a conscious decision on the referencing to Alpha House. Insofar as any other activities that are going south of the border, Mr. Speaker, that is a totally separate issue whatsoever, and I think that it should be dealt with in that context.
Calgary Monville.
Mr. Speaker, Albertans' concerns are growing about the security of the Heritage Savings Trust Fund. Provincial Treasurer has indicated he intends to sell off portions of Albertan savings funds to help pay for the massive debt this government has run up. Instead of being a trustee for the fund, he's turning into the fund's executor. or maybe more properly, its executor. Will the provincial treasurer, Mr. Speaker, will he tell Albertans why he feels a need to plunder the fund now with no mandate from Albertans to do so?
Speaker, I've dealt in part with this question over previous question periods, but would be glad again to explain to Albertans the implicit and intrinsic strength of the Heritage Savings Trust Fund and the key role that it plays in terms of the fiscal plan of this government and the way in which it has responded to the so-called rainy days that the province of Alberta has experienced through 1986-87. Because it is a key leadership role of this government that the Heritage Fund is in place, and this fund, Mr. Speaker, has provided us with a variety of options. Speaker, it has first of all diversified the Alberta economy. Now, the opposition has talked about some risky investments we made. One of those risky investments was Syncrude, Mr. Speaker. And I want to point out to all Albertans that the Syncrude investment has been a profitable investment. Risky, we agreed, but it has done certain things. Number one, Mr. Speaker, the Heritage Fund money has been used to develop this vast resource. Number two, Mr. Speaker, during that period has provided an ample amount of jobs for the people of Alberta. Number three, Mr. Speaker, has provided technology unexplored before, worldwide concentration of technology here in Alberta, Mr. Speaker. And now finally, Mr. Speaker, what these opposition people don't like, it's gone up in value. It has made a profit, Mr. Speaker. It's made a profit. And what we have said all along, Mr. Speaker, is this fixed asset, which belongs to the people of Alberta, which is here to the government for a trustee relationship only, now can serve a better purpose. It can be put back in the private sector. It can provide rewards to those people who are driven by market considerations as opposed to other considerations that now are implicit in the Heritage Fund. And, Mr. Speaker, it can free up dollars within the fund to do other things. It can free up dollars, Mr. Speaker, so we can reinvest those dollars in other kinds of investment which do the following: generate jobs, generate...
Thank you. Supplementary.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the Treasurer has indicated his intention to sell off shares in Alberta Energy Company, in Syncrude, even in TELUS, Mr. Speaker, and in his answer he doesn't give us any indication of what he's going to be doing to safeguard the Heritage Fund instead of squandering it. My question to the Treasurer is simply this: how do Albertans know that at the end of this government's planned fire sale, they won't be left with only the bad assets while the good ones are sold off and gone for good?
Mr. Speaker, if this fund ever fell into the hands of those Marxist-Leninists across the way, those socialists, Mr. Speaker, would give real meaning to the word squandered. I'll tell you that, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, they know nothing about prudent investment, Mr. Speaker. They would spend that money. They have already said that they would eliminate the fund, Mr. Speaker. That's what they would do with the fund. What we are doing here, Mr. Speaker, is simply taking the profits out of the Heritage Fund and possibly using them for the General Revenue Fund to reduce debt. Mr. Speaker. Now, what happens to the Heritage Fund under that model? Well, the assets are now converted to cash. To my mind, cash is a real asset. Most people can understand the value of a dollar. It's worth a dollar. And we would reinvest that money, Mr. Speaker, in a variety of purposes, which continue the diversification. Only the profits would go to the General Revenue Fund for debt retirement, Mr. Speaker, and the rest of the dollars in the Heritage Fund would stay intact. The value of the fund would stay intact, Mr. Speaker, and would be used for new investment. That's how this plan works. That's why the Heritage Fund is so unique to a democratic system around the world, and that's why other people are looking at this model for a way in which you can work your way through the difficult periods using savings to stabilize your economy. We've done just that. It's working well, and of course the socialists wouldn't understand the terms investment and profit in any event, Mr. Speaker.
Edmonton Meadowlark on a point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise on a point of order under the Standing Order Section 23E and under Beauchesne Section 512, both of which, of course, address the issue of anticipation. I want to say that I and my caucus colleagues certainly appreciate the difficulty of making judgment calls under rulings of this nature, rules of this nature, in the heat of the debate and so on, and we're simply, in making my presentation, now looking for some clarification. Wednesday, The Deputy Speaker, in answer to a question of anticipation, said it was a question to the Minister of Forestry, Lands and Wildlife, and of course his estimates were up that day. But the Chair doesn't agree that no questions can be asked of a department at all. I think questions regarding estimates cannot be asked when it's an estimates day. The Speaker the next day emphasized that point by saying that I would hope that caucuses would at least save us all this hassle, that on a day when the estimates are going to be called, we can avoid questions on that department entirely so we don't need to worry about the fine line that's going on. We would rather not see that ruling, and in fact, we would accept the ruling that you made today on behalf of the member for Smoky River. We believe there should be some flexibility. We simply ask for a clarification of the line along which we can have flexibility, along which we can ask a question, for example, today on the environment with the Minister of the Environment's estimates being up. In our caucus today, we made conscious decisions not to ask those questions, and we would like to have been able to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Edmonton Jasper Place is basically a similar point of order, or not? It's a different. And you are not in on a point of order? That's a separate issue. Thank you. On this point, then, Edmonton Highlands.
Yes, I had just in the middle of that exchange announced that I wanted to also make the point of order. I think the argument is pretty well outlined, but I'd like to point out that I'd like to read the exact ruling following the day that a series of questions was allowed on the day that the estimates for that department were allowed that night. The exact ruling the following day by the Speaker was, the Chair has really been quite concerned about that last set of questions. I know that yesterday some other questions were offered by Athabasca Laklabish, and there was some concern there, violation of the rule of anticipation. I would hope that caucuses would at least save us all this hassle, that on a day when the estimates are going to be called, we can avoid questions on that department entirely, so we don't need to worry about the fine line that's going on. This went across the line. An honourable member, why worry? Mr. Speaker, got a problem with standing orders, honourable member? Interjections. Thank you very much. Now, that's an exact quote of your ruling. Now, it was I who had raised the matter on the day before as well, when the Deputy Speaker was in the chair, because I'm concerned about consistency of application of standing orders. We had a series of questions that we wanted to go with today in question period that would have gone to the Minister of the Environment. This has happened on many an occasion, and we decide, even if they're really pressing, that they will not go because we're going to observe the rule of anticipation, and the Speaker's ruling that is so categorical, it is, I find, impossible to derive any other meaning from those words than that which was made so clear by those words. I also find, Mr. Speaker, that it is confusing when it comes to the role of the chair. We make the standing orders. If the standing orders are there, then they're to be observed, and business of the Assembly is to be conducted on that basis. We cannot artificially or occasionally or arbitrarily change our interpretation of them. This was not your first ruling on the importance of the respect of the standing order regarding anticipation. It's happened every year. Mr. Speaker, I beg that in future this rule be applied to the government caucus as heavily as it is applied to the opposition.
2 points of order, one raised by Grant Mitchell, the other by Pam Barrett of the New Democrats. You've been listening to live coverage of Question Period from the Alberta Legislature in Edmonton on Access Network Radio CKUA. We invite you to join us again at 2:30 tomorrow afternoon, Monday through Thursday, and 10 o'clock Friday mornings. You can watch a television rebroadcast of Question Period each evening at 11 o'clock on stations of the Access Television Network across Alberta. My name is Doug Morton, your host daily for Question Period, a presentation of CKUA's News and Current Affairs Department.
If you're looking for something unique to add to your CD collection, look no further. Sounds Alberta is the first in what we plan to be a continuing series of CDs. Along with contemporary folk by Bill Bourne, blues by Lionel Rolt, and Alberta country by Stuart McDougall, Sounds Alberta presents 13 more selections ranging from pop to jazz. CKUA's Sounds Alberta CD is available for only $18, including postage and handling. To order your CD, use your Visa or MasterCard by calling our switchboard at 428-7595 during office hours, or send a check or money order for $18 to Access Network CKUA, 10526 Jasper Avenue, Edmonton, T5J1Z7. If you're in Calgary,